Late in June of that year, an extremely large boulder was encountered, centered in the survey path about 2 miles in at the base of a tall cliff.
There was a large rock jutting out of the ground right where the canal was to be evacuated. It was not known how far the rock extended into the ground. We had no powder to shoot the rock, and it was so large that it could not be moved with teams. Joe Meeks.
Such was the location of this boulder as to be the only avenue of passage for the canal. There was no other route. Replenishment of the now exhausted blasting powder was 100 miles away. It would take at least a week to traverse such a journey. While canal construction beyond the rock continued, a plan was devised to address the problem.
Brother Sessions was satisfied to try, with a skeleton crew, to perform a feat that was to an advantage for all, and perhaps do that which most of the workers had given up as a task too large for the equipment at hand. Leo Jennings Neville.
The work team intended to dig beneath the large stone, creating a hole for gravity to pull the rock into. As 8 feet of the boulder was already exposed above the ground, it was deduced the rock was of such a size, making this the most feasible course of action. For several days, the teams dug and scraped, encountering many smaller boulders that had to be broken and carried from the hole in pieces.
It was a space of about 10 or 12 feet between the rock and the ledge. I know it looked awfully narrow as we were driving through, looking up at that immense rock, and hoping the dirt that was holding it wouldn't give way suddenly. Henry Thorne.
I was one of the men who undermined the rock. I remember Uncle James saying to me many times, "Don't get so far under that rock because it may fall on you when you are not looking." Vasco Call.
After scraping out this hole with 3 teams for a day or two, it was beginning to look like our rock stood on its end. We had dug on either side as far as our long-handled shovels would reach.
David E. Robertson.
Estimates for the size of the rock reached 60 and then 70 tons. As the hole reached a depth of 10 to 12 feet, the entire 20-foot breadth of the stone, and with no end in sight, patience wore thin and discouragement set in. This reality made the situation a subject of constant prayer in the settlement at morning and evening devotions, at the worksite with the laborers, and during Byron Sessions' solo retreats with only his horse as a witness.
It was our rule to take 10 to 15 minutes rest each half day. One day after we already had our regular rest period, President Sessions suddenly waved his big hat and shouted aloud, "Every man stop working and rest again. You men under and on top of the rock, come out here and rest." We all obeyed his orders. The moment the last man got away from under the rock tumbled down. Henry Herget.
The thud of the falling rock brought my attention back to the miracle that was happening just a bare few feet from me. To our amazement, one half of the prayer stone, or prayer rock, was resting in the hole dug on the upper side of the canal, and the other half was resting peacefully in the hole dug on the lower side of the canal, leaving a clear channel through where the canal could be and is now built. Leo Jennings Neville.
It is clear that after days of men working underneath, around, and on top of the rock, President Sessions cleared the hole minutes before the rock split.
That rock began to split from top to bottom with a new break, as smooth as a plastered wall, and landed right where we had all been busy working 5 minutes before. All was silent as we stood in amazement, probably asking ourselves, did the weight of that rock just split itself? What power caused President Sessions to call us out of that hole at just that minute?
David E. Robertson.
If Brother Sessions had waited 2 minutes longer, all the men under the rock would have been crushed to death. He said a voice spoke to him aloud and said, "Call the men off right now." So he straightway obeyed, waved his hat, and a miracle was performed. Henry Herget.